Hey guys, I'm here today together with Kassra Zargaran for the 15th time. Part of the madness, so it's also the third day of shooting. I think we're also having a pretty good time together in private.
Awesome.
What else can I say? I'm just sitting here.
That
You can do that on your own later. Oh,
nonsense. The players notice that too. I think people are socially intelligent and can already tell when something is being faked and when it's not. That's great. We're having fun and our eyes sparkle when we talk and listen to each other. So I think you know that we're not pretending anything for you.
I think neither of us would be the right people for that. You would feel it. I mean, you can sense antipathy from me very quickly. I think you notice that very quickly. Still, I'm going to start with a question now. Yes?
Go ahead.
Kassra, also known as the Persian, always focused on being stable all his life.
Street.
Perhaps the most notorious Hells Angels charter, maybe among the top 3 in Europon.
Definitely.
Yeah, kind of like that. Now you're sitting across from a prosecutor who asks, what can we do for you? What would Kassra, as a new member in his old charter at Berlin City, say about the Kassra who's now sitting with the prosecutor?
Yeah, and snitch, traitor, all those terms that you kind of associate with that. And would be a red flag. So the person would be.
Let's grab them.
No, not that. No. Because if she's at the police once, she'll be there a second, third, and fourth time too. That's very obvious. So it doesn't make any sense now. Unless you want to go to jail, and I doubt anyone does. Back then I didn't either, despite all those stupid crimes. But no, that would be a red flag. Let's review that again. There wouldn't be any more positive vibes.
Would the old Kasak be disappointed by the new one?
Oh, of course. I think that at that moment in the park, I wasn't really able to feel disappointment. I think it would just be like that. Negativity, hate, rejection. And yeah, but disappointment also has something to it. It's kind of connected to love and affection too. You can only be disappointed by someone you loved, and then I only loved myself.
Intense explanation, yeah.
That's why it's a bit difficult to feel disappointment for someone when you don't feel emotionally connected to them in any way. That's why I would rather say hate, rejection, and but no disappointment. I wasn't that deep at that time for that.
The prosecutor is sitting across from you, and two of them are sitting across from you and say, Mr. Zargaran, what can we do for you?
Yes, that was a crazy situation. The conversation is...
Candy,
was the best cameraman at that moment. It was a crazy situation. I was sitting there nervously, and it showed. Calm, but inside I was boiling, of course, and I was completely wringing my hands somehow. How do I explain this, and how do I start? And it was also like an old cry for help from me inside, because of course I really wanted to explain that these things aren't the way they're being portrayed and the way they've also written them down, and also accuse me and the whole story of that as well.
So was it about a correction at first?
Yes, of course, sure. So,
hey, that wasn't me. I didn't shoot. I didn't know about it.
yes, exactly. I was describing the situation as I experienced it, which is why I was there. Well, I wasn't sitting there because I wanted to get to know a combat dream with him, who was already a personality in this whole bubble back then. And that wasn't the case, but for me it was about creating clarity, also about mediating friends. Based on my review of the arrest warrant and the files, the parts that have now also been made accessible to us as part of my lawyer's review of the files. It didn't happen, and that's arrest warrants that were issued for people who weren't even at the scene of the crime, some of whom weren't even in the district, but in another region, in Spandau. But in Holzberg, it was important for me to say this first. Hey, what is what? Listen to me for a moment, and that's how the conversation started. I pretty much got straight to the point right away, as they say. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like that. That's unfair here, yeah.
It was for me too, of course.
Do you think so?
No, not really. I didn't see myself as a victim. That's just how it was. I already explained the situation at the start of the last episode and how it was back then. In the fourth cell, the situation with the lawyer and at the same time the third lawyer, there were two before that. We are also up to date. Now he's also at the point where we are also mandated for the case, and also all these files that I have seen. Exactly, that's what it was. Right position, but I wasn't the victim. I was so focused on clarifying and defining my perspective that I wasn't in a victim position at all, because that's how it was. It was a tense situation for me with a lot at stake. I
would like to add something to that. Sometimes that's a bit paradoxical. Maybe you'd like to give a brief input on that as well. I had a very strong sense of justice for myself, but I didn't give a damn about justice for anyone else. So I was actually being unfair. To many people, inside or outside the club, even victims, I always felt a strong sense of justice when something happened to me.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of paradoxical, yeah.
Sure, that's self-righteous too, but that's how it was back then, at least in part. But I didn't feel that way then, since I wasn't blaming them. The conversation wasn't about that or fairness. How are you biased or something like that? It wasn't like that. It was more like, listen, that's not how it was. The information you were given, whether it was VVP, the investigations that took place based on various alleged statements, it's not legally binding yet, and the witnesses haven't even been heard yet. That's always a basis. Big question in court. Was it about that? It's different. I'm involved in the act. I'm not the third or fourth person or a VVP that's somehow being concealed in the process, and nobody knows in what way they obtained the information. Whether it's hearsay from a third, fourth, fifth, or sixth person, that makes a big difference. And usually hearsay isn't useful. It's worthless.
Anyone who played telephone as a kid.
It's crazy. They say A, and Z comes out, and Z again with a bag on top, a bag on the bottom, and turned around. And because of that, it was, of course, important for me to get some clarity first. But of course, there was a bit of self-righteousness or this victim thing. When I put myself back in that situation, I can't really relate to it anymore. But that doesn't mean it wasn't like that, and I can't rule it out either. I remember the situation where I desperately wanted to clarify things in terms of myself. They wrote it down wrong. It didn't happen. That was the main point at first. I spoke not just for myself, but also for 3 or 4 others in custody who weren't present. So it wasn't just primarily about me, but about the whole situation. Because in the second or third sentence, which you can look up, I also said, listen, him, and him. They have nothing to do with being in custody. They weren't even involved. So people looked at each other like that. So it wasn't just primarily about me, but about all these complex expect murder, touchy aspect situations, the course of events, the sequence of the crime, the accusation, knowledge of the crime, and being an accessory to the crime. But
what was that? The presiding judge went on and said, how can we help you? What are you saying?
So, the first thing I want to discuss with you is the facts of the matter itself. But
the presiding judge asks, you realize this will now be on record?
Yes, I already knew. My lawyer informed me this is an official appointment and will be recorded. And I also knew it because of this Chenkatabuch thing, so I wasn't that naive. That I'm sitting there and I want something from you, and then, no, actually not. And now I'm the 1%er again. I was definitely aware of that.
But you didn't step up and say, okay, I want something too?
No, we're getting to the conversation now. That resolved itself without me saying a word. Exactly, we were there. Greetings to Mr. Kassra and Mr. Froelich. I've already described the position and your role in the previous session. Mr. Kassra is now retired. Greetings to you at this point. And Mr. Froelich, I believe, is still currently working in an AK department in Berlin. We had a very straightforward, very professional, but also a very decent conversation. They came in and both looked at me. They shook my hand and asked, please remove Mr. Zara's handcuffs. He wants to talk here, but that's not possible in these circumstances. He didn't like that. And then they took them off me, then we sat there, shook hands, and then it started. Then Mr. Kassra said, good afternoon, this is my colleague Mr. Froelich. I am Mr. Kassra. I said, I know you. He said, Yes, I can imagine that. He was well known in the circle. Kassra was a well-known name in the Berlin underworld justice system and police back then. It takes a lot of imagination, but he still did it to keep things in order. And then they said, "How can we help you?" And then they said, "Yes, Mr. Kassra." Of course, I was very tense, but I tried not to show it. I said, "Mr. Kassra, the very first thing I want to discuss with you is that what has been said about the whole year of the crime did not happen that way." Then he said, "Okay, what do you mean?" Then I said, "First of all, not everyone knew about it. I didn't know I'm the girlfriend of the district. Not everyone knew B. Secondly, this supposed informant operation that one of the members, Marcel, for example, supposedly had the task of taking the security equipment and ripping it out. Nothing like that could be seen in the video. He leaned against the counter and stood without bending forward at all. That didn't happen like that because they say you should prevent the act or make sure people can't be identified by taking the camera system with you. That didn't happen. That's what the informant claimed. Then it was said like that. 3 or 4 people were in custody despite having no involvement. They weren't outside, inside, or even at the scene. The informant claimed he saw that person there, saw that person in the video, and saw that person there, and he said he saw me too. I was listed as position 5, but I was actually in 7 or 8. Based on my clothes, they identified me by my clothes. We can go into that again later, why they identified me. That's what I told him. I said, "Listen, you have 3 or 4 people in custody who don't belong in custody." At first it was fine. I asked him to prove and explain it. After he did, I said, "That's how it is." Not everyone knew. I didn't kill anyone. Why am I being accused of joint murder here? Charges aren't filed yet, but suspicion and the investigation were headed that way. I said, "That's not justified," and we discussed it. He replied he couldn't go over the whole sequence of events with me now. The investigation files are in the other room. I always appreciate that you sit here with me and we can have a reasonable conversation. Thank you. And he says, he indicates, "I've listened to you now. I just talked for about 10 minutes straight." He said, "I can tell you one thing now. If you decide for yourself to exercise your right, which you are fully entitled to under the Code of Criminal Procedure, to make a statement about this act, and if you make a statement in such a way that you help clarify this act, and also in a proper, professional, understandable, and verifiable way, you can sustainably help to work through this act." Are we the last from the prosecution who want to accuse you? Something you didn't commit, something you didn't do, or that you're being convicted for something that didn't happen that way? He first called it fundamental, then repeated himself. And of course, we will do everything in our power to make sure you don't have to go to prison long term. Yes, but he said, "I can't promise you anything. There are no deals. I won't be able to promise you anything. That's what I can tell you. There are legal frameworks." That's paragraph 46 of the Basic Principles Regulation. We would be the last ones not to apply that to you if you are able to work through and clarify the crime here. And of course, we wouldn't refuse that. We would, of course, do our part. But naturally, everything would be based on verifiable, sustainable, solid, and provable statements that you have made. But that's your part. You have to decide for yourself what you say here, how you communicate here. I can't promise you anything. Then comes the sentence. I'll never forget it. What you have to do is you just have to jump in at the deep end and find your own way. Because from our side, there won't be anything in writing or anything like that. That doesn't exist in Germany. It's not legally permitted. Just a quick note for the people out there who have watched a few too many movies. There are no deals in Germany. There are agreements in court which are made behind closed doors with all parties involved in the proceedings. That means prosecution, defense, and the court. And there they make an agreement. That's something different. But there are no deals in advance. Like, if you say this, you'll get less. If you say that, you'll get out. If you say this, you'll only get this much. That's not found in Germany, but it is in America. People often assume what's shown in American movies is the same in Germany. Our justice system is entirely different. There you have to prove your innocence. Here you have to prove guilt. That's a completely different situation regarding evidence, no matter from which perspective, whether you're the defendant or not. That's why it's a fundamentally different understanding of the justice system. That makes it both better and worse, since both systems have flaws, but as I said, that's not the case in Germany. There's nothing like at a party where you come to the barracks with the guys, it's steak and chills, and you go there and get celebrated. That doesn't exist. And then I said, okay, all right, I will testify, and I hope that the colleagues there will also... Yeah, that was clear to me. Okay, I think that was obvious. We wanted to, but I also wanted to hear from him about my position, since he leads the process, and I just wanted a quick talk.
How long did such a conversation last?
Half an hour.
That's pretty short.
Just half an hour? 40 minutes? Well, that's fine. I mean, we didn't really have that much to say to each other here anyway. He also kept it brief and to the point when it came to the information about the course of events from my side, saying, I can't go into that. The colleagues are waiting and recording over there. We will take it into account and will also initiate investigations accordingly to make your statements verifiable. And that was... Okay then, it was just very brief and to the point about what happened. It was only about the circumstances, traceability, credibility, and the public prosecutor's options. And I said, okay, all right, good then. I will now also state what my concern is, and that's very important to me. That the colleagues and also you please approach this whole topic impartially regarding my side or in general, and also investigate openly and not one-sidedly, not in a completely specific direction. We don't do that anyway. Make your statements. I wish you success and all the best. Stay on it. Here it comes again. I think you're about to enter a much more difficult phase. Stay strong. I'll stay in touch with the lawyer. You can contact me anytime. I'm available for you or for the lawyer. And then good luck. I have another court appointment now. And then he left. We shook hands and said goodbye. And then the investigating officers came in. Mr. Vogel is the head of the Power Commission of the 3rd or 5th. I don't remember anymore. And thanks to Ms. Lashke and Mr. Wiese. And then the typist. And then we sat down, got started right away. Yes, we sat down. Everything okay? Want a drink? No? Okay, sat down. My lawyer, Attorney Shopper, was there. Greetings. Then it began. Did they question you? That was the situation with the public prosecutor's office, so very factual, very sober, but also very honest.
How long after the arrest was that?
Until the end of February.
That means 1 month.
4 or 5 weeks, more or less. Yeah, I'll check the file again, but that's about right. Yeah, okay, roughly.
And the officers come in, introduce themselves, yeah?
They already knew me from the first hearing where I did 55. And as you know, you still remember, I'm Mr. Voges, head of the Homicide Division. I'm the lead officer here in this whole matter. Staff members, Ms. Lashke and Mr. Wiese are the interrogating officers. They will question you. I wish you much success. If you have any questions, I'm across the hall as your attorney. Just come see me. Those were 2 rooms. Hopefully we'll see each other more often. They also included Hope, wanting to solve that case. A murder case involving 10 or 12 defendants or investigations into nearly 30 people at once was already a big deal. With the media attention, with the video of the execution, so there was never anything like that in Berlin's criminal history. This crime, that it was really recorded on video from beginning to end. Even the killing itself, that was really uncovered and uncensored, this whole thing. And as terrible as it was, that's just how it was. And because of that, this whole story also had massive media pressure. The police also faced huge pressure then. And then it started. Let's interrogate ourselves. Once got involved.
Where do you start? Right at the beginning. So who are you?
You wanted to know first? Let's review the video together. Who was present? Go through the first video. And then we went through the video. It was straightforward and professional. No one suggested, as people often claim, that anything was manipulated. Good cop, bad cop, and the nice ones got him to talk more. Maybe even gave him a Red Bull to keep him talking. That's nonsense. They were professional and matter of fact. They didn't know why I was there. I'll explain that later. That the fake is fake. After a few years, Mr. Kempster then had an honest conversation with my lawyer, and he also said what was coming. What they were thinking back then, what could come around the corner, and that's why they were also very reserved. The investigators acted professionally, recorded everything, and just asked one question. And then for lunch I went down to the holding cell, and that was it. Very professional and matter of fact, but not especially charming. Oh, you're a great storyteller in person and awesome, and you'll get out, we'll take care of it. And Joe, do you want to do something on the side, man?
Were all of them from the video already Farf at that point?
No.
That means, and
Some were arrested and many were wrongly arrested who weren't even in the video, but they were accused of being in the video.
they were released due to your statement.
Were released because of my statement. They should.
Actually,
You say it, not me. For me, that's questionable. If I said it, I'd be judging myself.
that's not self-righteous, but I
Think I know what you want to say. That's
already a lot. I think I would have eventually sat down to write you a letter saying, thanks for clearing that up.
yes, there were 4 people. Well, I
Don't know how you feel about this. Feel free to write it in the comments. But
yeah, that was it. And then they were released quickly. So I gave my statement. We went through the video. Then they also quickly coordinated with Mr. Fogus, and 24 hours later they released the men.
But new ones on the list?
Yes, because those in the video were people, not horses. So that's why. But those were just the ones who were there, not the ones who weren't. You have to be fair and accurate, I think. And professional and reasonable. You also carry a certain responsibility. My lawyer always said, he said, Kalle, he once said, my friend, be aware of that. Even as the trust kept growing, and they also realized what kind of credibility was behind it, he said, please be careful, don't let yourself... About successes / well, persecuted people, if you call that successes, that's obviously nonsense. But simply from the statements you're making now, which have also been made verifiable or were made verifiable, please don't let that lead you to overzealousness. You carry immense responsibility. There are people behind this, they have a life out there. And don't say something if you're not sure. Then say, it could be, I'm not sure.
But that's impressive from the lawyer, yes.
And just be careful there, because we don't want to make ourselves vulnerable here. And B, the situation and the position you're in now, also because of the statements you've made here, carry an immense responsibility. I was well aware of that since he always reminded me. And because of that, we also have a very, very good, how do you say it? Or try to do it professionally, reasonably, and responsibly. And of course, there were also times when I was sure, and you could have even thrown nuclear weapons in there. I would have been safe anyway. And of course, I did too. Now we're diving deep into the topic. Now it's getting real. This is generally interesting, but now it's getting real too.
May I ask a question?
Before,
So stick to your thought. The
3
or 4 who were innocently in prison were also members.
yes, prospect and member, support and prospect.
And member and them.
And one leader from them.
Also a leader? Yes, who also wasn't there. Yes. Okay. The others present were also prospects and members.
Members, prospects, and supporters, okay?
That was just for my understanding because I was like, I had that thought in my mind. Okay, maybe they somehow arrested some supporters who were just sitting there and the members got away with it. That's almost what I thought. I was going to ask if it felt like revenge, but that doesn't really fit.
What do you mean by revenge vibes? Can you fill me in real quick?
If you're already mad that you got lured in there anyway. You didn't know there would be shooting, so I feel the same way as you do if someone suddenly started shooting in the area. I'm in jail and expected to get life who...
Is a joke.
That's a joke. So I feel no matter which gangster writes something here now, you put yourself in that damn situation. Yeah, so we just have to keep saying that, definitely.
Yeah, that's
Really important because we're talking about life.
20 plus, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, I was like, yeah, damn, they just caught someone who wasn't even involved. But the bum from our club, the one who actually did it, gets away with it. He always treated me badly. Yeah, that was my impression.
Yeah, but I also changed the perspective there. I think it's also for the people out there who still don't want to understand it. Still partying, still thinking I'm crap, and you are too.
Okay, enjoy yourselves.
Have fun, we still love you. You may sometimes be guided to the right path. still not understood, but you should now. I'll wave the red flag a few more times and say, hello, attention. And if you lose it for a moment in between, crisis knactus right here. That should be an eye-opener for you. We've dealt with that before. We specifically refer to that somewhere again, and I also make 2 comments to bring it back into people's awareness. And this is another brief mention of the brother topic, which I think is important. Imagine 3 or 4 people in custody weren't involved in this crime. No matter what position or role they have in the charter, they simply weren't there. That's a fact. It didn't matter. There was 1 or 2 among them. I couldn't stand him and he couldn't stand me. We just couldn't get along. We always pretended to like each other, but we couldn't stand each other. That's a fact. Still, I'm not going to claim that he was in there because I won't do that. And those people who were involved fled to Turkey or were just wandering around outside. And of course they knew that they were actually the ones responsible, but they weren't arrested for it. And instead others were wrongly arrested in their place. That means now we're at the topic of brother. So, as I understand it, if that really was a brother, and we seriously revisit this idea of brother, given how significant the word is, for those who still think this way, if he truly is an honorable, solid man, let's take these classic veiled words. If he had reported himself, he would have gone with his lawyer to the nearest police station. He wouldn't need to comment on every detail of the crime, just specifically. That's his right as a defendant. He can make selective statements, unlike a witness. We'll explain that again later. I ended up in that position myself later on. He could have said, here I am with my lawyer. He and his lawyer both say they want to make a statement. Friends, position 7 is not, I don't know, Ahmed. It's me here. Michael, the colleague, wasn't there. It was me here. That's the outfit that's on the camera. That's my greeting in the checkers mess. And that's it. He wouldn't need to incriminate anyone and could keep living his club life if he still wanted. And the man would have gotten out and he would have protected, helped, and saved his brother's ass, and then would have taken the fall for him. And that would have been, as they say, an honorable man, a solid guy. And I would have understood if you celebrated him for that. I would have said, that's a sanction. I would have respected that. Despite everything and everyone, I would have respected that action as true responsibility. But these people don't do that. They wouldn't have given a damn if the man had been locked up for 15 or 20 years, even though he hadn't done it. And they would have gone on living their lives, eating well, driving around in their Porsche, sleeping with all the women, making their money. I'm awesome. Hell's Angels, top awesome. They would have...
But that's someone who's in prison. How much money?
Sent in. I'll send him 100. He'll manage. Go buy some Maggie soup. You'll be fine. And I'll send you a nice digital versatile disc from 1995, man. Nice Tupac for him, so you can act all gangster. You get what I mean, guys? They wouldn't have cared at all, and they didn't do it either. They would have just let people go wild. Life for 20, 23, 15, 18 years, it's always roundabout like that. They would have gone on with their lives as perpetrators and just hanged the others. And the brother, just let that sink in. I won't comment on it anymore. Just think about it for a moment and then reflect on yourselves. Be honest with yourselves. And then I want to know if you'll still say, that's my brother, or if it's truly a brotherhood.
All right, I'll take over for a moment. Briefly, well, you can really feel it here, right? Thorsten, I don't know if you feel it, but I think you do. You can really feel the energy here right now.
Well, but Kassra Zargaran?
If you can't process that and you don't understand it, then we can't help you now either. Of course, yes.
But it's important to have a little something like that again. A lot.
You can't say it any more precisely.
Exactly, and that was still the case here again. For those who are clueless or refuse to understand, it was also important to me that we clarify this again. And maybe 2 more there.
I wouldn't let my sister serve 20 years for my actions either.
Yeah, wild, right? We're always talking about this guy, his brother, his Starbul, his Ehrenmann, all these attributes or attitudes that people always celebrate and throw around so carelessly at people they think are cool, just because they have big muscles or are part of some structure. That's not how it is there. That doesn't exist. Nobody cares about that. People just run away. They do whatever. Shit, I'll just leave him hanging. Oh, bro, just do it. Push through. You have to push through. You're doing great. I'll send you a phone plan, a phone, and 100 euros. Then you can, like I said, drink Maggie-type soup, and I'll send you a digital versatile disc. You got this.
Unfortunately, I have to grin.
Worst, your wife will mess with you, bro, but that's just out of love. I only do it because I care about you. And that's why I just went over it with you again real quick and said, let's put that in quotation marks again. Or let's underline it imaginatively in red. Guys, open your eyes, open your minds, please use your heads. You all got a functioning mind from God, so use it. There's a lot of potential in it. And for each of you, yes, and yes, just about the situation. Let's just keep going.
This is an important topic, so we don't need to follow chronological order. The main thing is the input and the value we're adding. Maybe some of you will remember, which would be helpful.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. Like I said, yeah, and then the conversation started. We got into it. The first thing, like I said, was, of course, they really wanted to know who was there because they wanted to catch the perpetrators first. Understandable, right? Yeah. Arrest warrants were lifted, the guys released, then new warrants issued and doors kicked in. They caught whoever they could. Of course, you have to know the people who... it became clear there was a game of telephone in prison. Suddenly, I was gone from the wing and my new lawyers couldn't reach me. I had my two old lawyers, club lawyers, couldn't reach me anymore. They tried to visit me a few days later, but couldn't access anymore. I also revoked their mandate by email. Everything is on record, yes. And then, of course, I appointed Stefan as my lawyer. And when people in the prison see each other in the house more often, they say, oh, he's not there anymore. And then, of course, all the alarms go off everywhere. Immediately.
Exactly, a small change. All the prisoners
Have time.
Exactly, incoming people and actions.
Everything is communicated by the inmates as well as by the staff. Of course, there are always a few people here and there who unfortunately take the wrong side. Not all, mostly not, but there is always drug smuggling from time to time. We need it. You know everything, definitely. Yes, it's spread quickly. Of course, they know what I know. And if he testifies, they know, okay, he will speak out. He knows that I was involved. Some people left, some stayed. A few fled to Turkey and remained there, while others didn't. And they were arrested and imprisoned. But you have to say, Turkey is...
It's not completely safe territory anymore, even in Turkey, where there are now diplomatic relations. Yes, where you say it
still works.
Is still about joining the European Union, and that is still being pursued. And now I think there have even been arrests in Turkey with open arrest warrants in the so-called European Union. So not everyone should feel so safe there either. Okay, yes, internationally now I know.
I'm not sure about other countries, but Turkey mostly does this selectively. It always depends. They do that in some cases and are also politically opportunistic at times. Because it's not just 3 or 4 people fleeing from that context, but also many others, many others. So yes, but if you say so, let's see what time will bring. Then we really got into it. I was there. I'm not going to go through the interrogation every day again now. I don't think that would be very interesting for people. What's important is, then we got into this soda mart topic. We already mentioned the soda mart. We went through it once, and that's where I gave my statement. Of course, you were like, what? You didn't expect that? Wow, then a second soda mart commission joined in. They worked on the case and then set off right away. Then, of course, I gave my statement, described the situation to the people as it was relayed to me. Then they set off, compared it with the witness statements. It matched, and then they set off again. Crime scene, then they had him, or they did. They had already found a cigarette, and then the cigarette also matched a person whom I had connected to this crime, and who was also seen at the scene. At the location, a cigarette was found where the person was shot. At the spot where someone was seen, that's where he shot from. And the person, the DNA matched. So that later became a legal question as to why it could no longer be used. But I'm just describing the situation as it was. And then they came in to see me. They weren't at a party. They were just really hyped up. It was crazy. You could tell there was a whole machine running right then. Then people started getting arrested. I still remember it was 3 to 6 days after that. Things like issuing arrest warrants take time. They can't just act immediately because someone said so. That's the German justice system. Everything must be precise, signed by the lawyer, prosecutor, and judge, then carried out. They came in, I won't forget it, and that's when I got my lawyer. We marked it on our calendar too. After they made this soda issue verifiable as well, in their opinion. With the DNA, Mrs. Lash came in here and Mr. Wiese at Zargaran. We found something in a positive sense. Incredible. And thank you for the information. Then you sat down at the table and said there were grapes on the table. Did people notice that now?
Now it is, yes, that's just a...
Icebreaker. Let me quickly explain the situation. Then I think you can add something to it again. And there were grapes on the table. They always had a fruit bowl on the table. I didn't eat that. I thought more like, oh, that's just decoration, you know, but I didn't eat it. And then she looked at me, then she pushed the grapes over to me. Now she said, go ahead, help yourself, have some grapes. A little bit of sugar, I think, is quite good. It's very exhausting. Enjoy your meal. And then my lawyer looked at me, he looked at me, I looked at him. He said that after every interrogation, my lawyer and I always talked. He said, that was just an icebreaker moment. Where between you and this party and between you and the other party, now your counterpart, the ice was broken, and people really trust you and really believe you, really give 100% faith to what you say, because those are things you can't influence. DNA that was found at the scene, that's not possible. You can say whatever you want, you know what I mean, and you know, witnesses are the weakest form of evidence in court, and DNA like that, that's pretty much case closed. Yeah, it was even more intense later, and that was an icebreaker, and then things started moving. We talked, you could tell we understood each other on that level. Then there was lunch, we talked, and it was very professional. Never overwhelming here. You're a prince and a cool guy, but you just have... It was a relaxed, professional and human relationship and interaction. We talked a lot there, went through things. It was like a workshop. Then you can imagine they set up the wall for you. Was it like that then? Okay, then you wrote it down, then someone else came in, okay. And then you sat there, you could have put a time lapse in there. And then you think, okay, they're building a house or something, they're just working on some project there. So there was a lot of input, a lot of output, a lot of input for them, a lot of output for me too. And then it just kept going. One thing that
kind of got overlooked. Yeah. What does that mean? Okay, you were then with the prosecutor, and then the justice system is informed. Okay, move the man somewhere else now. Yeah, another wing, another prison. You were transferred, yeah, you were transferred.
You were in Moabit?
At that time, so before? Yeah.
The first arrest was...
Moabit and...
Then...
Taken from Moabit. You won't say where, will you? No. But can you say if it's out of Berlin? No, not even that. Okay, I'll just guess. I think it's out of Berlin. Impossible to explain that. I'll say...
I'm not withholding this because I don't want to tell you or think you shouldn't know. I would share if I could, but I'm obligated. These are state secrets in certain departments. We also don't want to help criminals.
Give instructions on where something is.
Happens where...
Who is brought there. That's what it looks like. That's why,
That's the background, but I still want to explain it to people, not that they think I'm being stubborn and don't want to tell you, but on the contrary, you know, I'm a very transparent guy and I'm open with you about this. Otherwise, I wouldn't sit here, and I try not to be selective. But that's a question. Those are state secrets, so I'm obligated not to make any statements about that, and I won't do it either. That is my duty and also my responsibility. And it's a state secret. It remains a state secret. And how such agencies work, what they do, how things are carried out, where you go, where you are, how you do it, how you are transferred, and so on. I can't comment on that, and we don't want to.
To give instructions, exactly, maybe later.
Talk about my detention conditions again, that was also a topic in court, so I'm allowed to go into that, definitely. That was now...
So right away, was it done right away after you went to the prosecutor and said, yes, I will testify here, yes, I am, on the day of my testimony?
I didn't go back to the detention conditions, so I stayed at the same place, which makes it clear.
Word spreads fast. Kassra is gone, transferred. The wiretaps outside were still running.
Investigations into the intelligence service were ongoing for all club members, but the wiretap failed. And there were dozens of phone calls that picked up on that and also discussed it, and they also listened to us. They then approached my contact, who was still in Berlin. Let's meet up. So Melanie, who got the whole process started together with the other lawyer, thank God for that, best regards. She was such an essential part in opening my eyes and really taking that step. Sometimes you need someone who gives you that little push. You have to walk on your own, but sometimes it just takes someone saying, come on, go for it, you can do it, and then you actually do it. Then they approached her.
And said, let's meet up, and they...
Called her 5 times, let's meet up. WhatsApp already existed back then. Let's meet up, we need to talk. She deliberately didn't block them, so she would have proof in case any statements were made. A member's cousin kept calling her until she finally contacted him. He took care of transporting all the items and materials into the prison, and he was also the one who collected the money again. With her regarding the DVDs and the television, we talked about it. Brothers, solid, honorable man, and people who don't understand much. And yes, that he pressured her to meet, questioned her lack of response, and insisted they talk, but she didn't block him. Then they tried to reach her through my then wife, the mother of my first child. She was walking down the street when she saw a suspect from the soda case. The woman knew her, she was on the street, and spoke to her. Why is he doing this? He's tearing our family apart, she says. What do you want from me? Get out of my way, and I have nothing to do with this. Leave me alone, don't come near me. Then I'll call the police, and then she left. Of course, they were also taken care of accordingly, and we won't go into that. They were definitely kept safe too. My parents were kept safe. Then may I? Yes. Still, it's hard.
Also for
Those.
the woman with your daughter, for your affair, for Melanie. Melanie was totally on board, and
My daughter's wife, of course, also blamed me. Can you understand that? Yeah, no,
absolutely right.
Of course, absolutely right. So now suddenly it comes,
LKA, maybe it's coming. Personal protection, surveillance, and everything involving the parents happened due to the decision. I want to be a Hell's Angel, the big guy. Everything is about me and my ego, and everyone suffers for it. You really have to say it like that, right? Yeah, well, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing it with a moral finger because you're not doing that at all.
that's just perspective, because I have all
Destroyed. Yeah, such a legitimate change of perspective now.
I'll make the change of perspective that you like to do. Where I sometimes struggle is simply, she didn't break up then either. She chose to stay with me. She could have ended things and left the man. It's not an accusation, but you must consider women currently in such relationships who can't leave. Constantly moving from one bad situation to another, always dealing with new messes because her husband is involved in those circles. Guys, break free, separate, as hard as it is. Run, especially if you have kids. Focus on the kids. The kids deserve life, a completely different life. And that guy made his choice. And if you don't want it, don't put up with that crap. Break up. That's important since many women tolerate that due to supposed love or dependence. And also simply because they can't break free. And since they're living in this emotional and material dependency, that was also really important. That was the case for her. With my parents, it was a different point. They also got completely pulled into this whole thing just because I'm a relative. And, the structures are really nasty. If we can't get him, we'll go after others to pressure him to retract his statement. My parents were completely exposed, this whole situation, because of my damn decision, the decision before, and my sister. I think you have to differentiate a little bit there. That doesn't remove anyone from this situation or my responsibility. But I think we should add a bit of nuance to the whole thing. Also include individual perspectives and the expected added value for future generations with ideas or those in similar situations, including women and children who are affected. Separate yourselves from such people and such men. Don't go down that path. They are poison for you and your children. And that was then carried through. No, and then I ended up in custody, and somehow, of course, I didn't sleep in the holding cell. Then I was transferred while in custody, and then I was in solitary confinement, and I wasn't expecting that solitary confinement. Can you explain that briefly?
Before we end, solitary confinement. A lot of people out there are watching. I have to tell this, unfortunately. When I was in prison, I watched American prison documentaries. I watched in prison how others are in prison. Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Well, that's
you just look into the depths of the depths. Maybe he's doing worse. Maybe
he's doing better. Psychological damage. But there are people
out there who say, like rappers and so on, they say, yeah, you just sit it out, don't care about it. Isolation, and then I work out, then I do this and so on. Those are men. You have to
pull through, solid, went in and came out like a man. That's awesome. Dude, maybe isolation can help.
Explain briefly what that means. Isolation is prison within prison. So
that's a big deal. Normally you only get that as a disciplinary or corrective measure. If you commit crimes or offenses while in prison, like getting into fights, extorting, oppressing, smuggling, or just breaking the rules in general, the house rules, and then there are disciplinary measures which range depending on the offense from losing television privileges, not being allowed to participate in social activities, losing shopping rights, to being banned from shopping. They usually don't do that because people already know. Yes, even food, but that happens very rarely. They rarely do that. But then they just block soccer clubs, well, social programs they run, or some group theater activities. No more church services, just individual activities and important free periods. These are fundamental.
And especially in
And as the biggest punishment of all, you get thrown into solitary confinement, into a hole, which is called solitary. That's the worst part. You have nothing, no radio, nothing. You're alone outside for 1 hour, inside for 23. You're locked up with no contact to anyone. Can I say something about that?
Yes, you were in solitary confinement for a very long time, 7 years, almost 6 years, and
A few months. I just had someone who
Was on my block and he called it a wing. No, yeah. So
and I don't remember
what he was reported for, but he got caught several times with his phone. Incorrigible. Yeah, and I think that's him. 8 or 12 weeks, I don't remember exactly. He ended up in solitary confinement. He came out looking like a corpse. Yeah, and now we're talking about you. So when he came out, I said, dude, what happened to you so quickly? Were you in Guantanamo or something?
what, just so people.
No, this is Germany. It's just a hotel. Of course, there are jails. You can
Adapt to the circumstances if you behave yourself and follow your path. In custody, that's natural. There are also opportunities there to continue your education, to work, to free yourself from things. It's even harder since you're only around people like that and can't escape. But that possibility is real too, and that you have privileges there that you earn, which are also supposed to help you reintegrate into society. That's why they do it in Germany too. And you clean up if you can get out in a somewhat decent way. But it can also be different, as you already said yourself, if you play the hero there and think you have to take on the system and that you're better. And, oh, what do they even know? I make my own rules here. You do that once or twice. Maybe in the next part.
We'll talk about solitary confinement. It's also about the preparation process, probably at some point.
the piles of files that have arrived, how many boxes have come?
There were boxes at the beginning, and
Later they switched it to digital because they changed it in the Institute's system in Berlin. But there were, I think, 120 folders just by themselves that I received over the period until then. Lights folders. Yeah, and that was, okay, pretty intense. And especially if you're someone who's interested in your own case and not really fluent in this legal language. And that's just how it is with learning by doing. Yes, I'm German, born here and literate, but legal documents are still hard to read. And very, very legal German is very, very challenging. That's a vocabulary that not everyone is familiar with. It's dry, ambiguous, often has multiple meanings, and is usually open to interpretation, so it can be understood differently than how you read it. Yes, that's intentional. If you want to understand it, thank you for your support.
willingness to discuss the family again, your affair with Melanie, etc. What did it mean? What consequences did you draw? And how did it affect your environment? Yes, that's a very strong focus. Kassra, thank you so much for your time. I also have the book here, of course, by Kassra, the Persian.
Yes, I've already mentioned it in parts.
A great, entertaining book. I've read it twice. Check out the link to the book below, Kassra. Thank you so much for your time, Thorsten. Thank you. And thanks to all channel members.
Thank you. Give a thumbs up or down, comment something nice, leave some props, and as always, ahoy from the coast.
Ahoy from the coast.